In this tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to create a little sound player. Here's the app I created before. What happens is that in the Flash movie, you go to the genre, you pick a type of genre. Let's say I pick reggae. Well, then I'm going to go to an artist. I've only got a picture of Bob Marley there on the song Natty Dread. And then you'd actually play the Natty Dread with these sound controllers here. I've got one just here, so if I play that, it plays the song from the start. If I pause, it'll resume where the song was stopped from. I can fast forward 10 seconds. I can pause and play. I can stop. That takes it back from the start. And you could go on and on and on and create all sorts of sophisticated sound controllers. I think what I'm going to do today is just show you how to play and stop a song, and try to stop it from replaying all the time, which is a bit of a tricky thing to get your head around. And let's go and let's start. So this is the little movie I want to put the sound controller on. Now you wouldn't do this when you do your project. I want you to go to a different page, go to, let's say, a genre, go to reggae, then have a sound controller, or country and western or rap or whatever you want to do, and have the sound controller on the actual next to an artist or something like that, so you can play a whole series of songs. Alright, where do we begin? Let's start on the timeline now. And we're in the genre section here. We've got buttons. I'm going to create some more buttons here. How I'm going to do it is I'm going to go to the common libraries and I'm going to select buttons. Now, where did that thing come up? I think I just deselected it then. Buttons. Here we go, here. Now in your common library you've got this beautiful series of buttons here that look quite good. Playback flat. I pick that, I can it'll show what it looks like. So let's just pick a play button here, and what I'm going to do is just drag that here to this screen. So play black flat, and it'll just pick that for me. And I can just drag that now to the stage. So I'm just going to drag it just here. There's a nice playback. I'm going to then just select a stop button. Here's the stop. I'll drag that here too, and I can just put a stop button probably there. So I've got a play and a stop button. Right, now I have to go to grab a sound. I'm going to get a sound from this movie that I've created before. I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to come back here and I'm just going to paste it into this library. There it is here. I don't want it to there, I want it to be up by itself. There it is here. Now you'll notice I've got a little right next to this, is quite important. Next to the actual sound, which is the sound here, I can play it. There's the sound. Now I've got this thing called AS linkage. If I double click that, you'll see I can change the sound name. So I've called it SDN, so it's a sound, and then I've got Natty, so it's Natty Dread by Bob Marley, so that's the sound. Alright, you don't drag that to the stage. I'm going to call that using ActionScript. I'm going to show you how I do that. First thing I need to do though is give an instance name to these buttons. So I'll do the play first. I'll click onto play and I'll give this an instance name. So I'm going to say BTN. I'm going to say play Natty. In other words, play Natty Dread by Bob Marley. So that shows you that. And I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to call this one BTN stop Natty. So that'll actually stop that song. Okay, so far so good. So I've got a start. When I hit that, it'll play. When I hit this one, it'll stop. Now, what we need to do is go back to, we'll go into ActionScript, and might come back here and have a look at our ActionScript window. And here we go here. Remember we had this button, so we're going to use a button function, so I'm going to copy this just for future reference. I'm going to go into this action script where we've got this one that says genre, and this one here. No, it's actually this one here. And I'm going to create a new button. Now this button is going to be controlling the sound. So I'm going to say BTN, we call it play Natty on release, and then just writing a comment here, play sound. So it'll play the sound when I call it. Question is, how do I actually get the sound ready to play? So I'm going to show you a couple of things here. I'm just going to pinch some code from the other one I did before, and let's see how I did this. I'm just going to copy that. Alright, I'll delete this variable for the time being. I'll talk you through it, and I'll delete this one as well. Now, when we want to create a sound in Flash, we have to create a sound object. We do that by using a variable, so whatever we want to call the sound, and we use this syntax, :sound equals new sound. So we're saying that variable called song sound, we're going to set this up as an object, and what's going to go in the object is a new sound. Then we attach the sound to that. So then I add the sound file to that. To object. And the sound file is in the AS linkage we did before, and I've got STN Natty, which is, if I have a look in the library, that's what it's actually called. Now what will happen is that when I play the sound, I should be able to play that sound. And how I do this is I write this line of code. I write song sound, so I call the object directly, the variable which is now an object, song sound, and here it couldn't be any simpler. It's actually telling me, if I look at the code, it'll actually say there should be a bit of code there that says start. And it has a bracket. Now the bracket's very important because later on we'll find out that we can actually start a sound from a given point. So what I've got now is it'll play the sound when I hit the button. Play Natty, it'll actually play that. So I just got to make sure I've called the button the right thing. Properties, that actually says BTN play Natty. So I better make sure I've got the same code. BTN play Natty. So what will happen? We've created a variable called song sound. We've turned it into a sound object. We've attached the actual sound file to it. Now we're telling it to start. In other words, we're telling it to start the song. Let's check the code. We're fine. And now let's play it and see what happens. Right. So here we go. So I've got home. So it plays the song. Now it doesn't stop because we haven't told it to stop. So we play the song. So now I'm going to show you how to stop the sound. So if you recall, our other button was called BTN stop Natty. So using a bit of logic, you should be able to figure out that if we can play a song, we should be able to stop it. And it's called on release. In other words, when we release the mouse button, we're creating a function, brace, open brace to start off with, and close brace to finish off. Now, again, we call the same variable, song underscore sound Now, if we use start to start it, it's fairly obvious we would probably use stop to stop the sound. And that's it. We've created what we need to create. I've just checked the code, I've auto formatted, that's fine now, so let's actually play it and see what happens now if we can start and stop the song using buttons. Alright, play the song, stop, play the song, stop, play the song, stop. We've got a problem though. The problem is if I hit this button, every time I hit the button, it'll start the song again. And it actually will have more than one sound file playing. You hear what's happening every time I hit this. Every time I hit the play button, I create all these different songs for creating, so it ends up being a bit of a mess. So it's a bit of a challenge, it's a bit of code. I'll show you one way to overcome this problem. Let's go back here. One way to overcome the problem is that every time we hit the play button, we could actually stop the sound and then start it again. That way we'd only ever play one sound at a time, and we could do this. So now if I play it now, if I hit play, it'll stop that sound and start it from the exact point again. So we're not getting more than one sound. The problem is you keep on going back to the same point. It'd be better if we had a situation where we can only play it if we've actually stopped it beforehand, which sort of makes more sense. And I'm going to show you how to do that. It's a bit tricky, but you're more than capable of doing it. Now, what we have to do in here, I'm going to create what we call a toggle, or I call it a toggle. So in other words, we want this to play only when the sound is stopped, and we want it to indicate that if we've actually stopped it, it'll actually tell the program it's actually stopped it at this point. So it'll only play when it's stopped. It won't play or replay when it's actually continuing to play. We can use a stop button to do that. Here's the code to do that, and I'll just want to take you through this. First thing, we're going to create a variable called a variable playing. It's going to be a boolean, which is actually going to be a true false. So I can just basically say playing equals false. So in other words, this variable playing equals false. And what we'll do here is if this will only play if the song isn't playing. So if it says false, in other words the song isn't playing, then this will play. Otherwise, it won't play. I'll show you, and we're going to set it to false at the start because when we first start this file, the song isn't playing. So what we do here is in our function, we create an if statement. We've done this before, so we go if, like our hit test and like a lot of other tests, if our condition will be playing, now we use a double equals, it's equivalent to false. So playing equals false, okay, now this is going to wrap over all of this. It's going to be inside that function, like this. So if the playing equals false, then you can actually play the sound. Otherwise, it'll just ignore this and go, it won't have any effect at all. So now let's check what happens this time. If playing equals false, then do this. Alright, let's test that again, see if that actually works. Now, the reason it keeps on playing is that we haven't changed the state. So we have to tweak the code a bit more than that. If playing equals false, song will start. We need to change the variable to something. What is the opposite of false? Well, the opposite of false is true. So if we're going to start the song, we want to actually indicate to the program we've started the song. So we're going to say playing equals true. So now what will happen is it will start the song and it will change playing to be true. So in other words, the next time it comes through now, it won't be able to play because it's actually true. So it'll actually only play once. Let's try it out this time. Okay, so it's not starting. I can stop it, but it won't start again. So we have to do something to the stop to show that it's actually we've actually stopped the program. So what could we do to the stop button? Well, when song sound equals stop, so we've actually stopped it. We just have to change the variable to equal false, because when you play it, it's no longer playing, therefore it's false. So what will happen is it will come through, start from the code, it says playing equals false, so in other words, it's not playing at the moment. When we hit the button, if it isn't playing, in the first instance it isn't playing, it'll actually play the song, but then it will switch it to say playing is true. So in other words, it's playing the song. If we hit the play button again, nothing will happen because it's actually playing. That equals true, not false. But if we hit the stop button, what will happen is that playing will be changed to false. That'll stop, that'll change to false, and therefore we can actually be able to play the song again. So I can't, it doesn't start again, and stop. Now I can play it. Stop. And that's how you create a button to start and stop, and also that you will only play the sound once. So in other words, if the song is playing, it won't keep on repeating the sounds. And that's how we create it, and that's done. So next session or next video, I'll show you actually how to create a pause button as well. It's a bit trickier, but you'll be able to get your head around it, I'm sure.